On the news, Defense Headquarters dismisses terror claims by Turkey, insists the country won't take orders on national security. Paul Ibe blames rogue elements for leaking Atiku's resignation letter, indicating exit from the People's Democratic Party. And JAMB uncovers 9,460 illegal admissions in 20 tertiary institutions in the country. It's a pleasure to have you join News Now on TV360 Nigeria. I'm Okbayemi Owosheni. We begin with national security, as the Defense Headquarters has disclosed that Nigeria remains an independent nation capable of making its own decisions, particularly on security and counter-terrorism matters. This follows recent comments by the Turkish government alleging that members of a group it designates as a Fethullah terrorist organization are operating in Nigeria under the guise of educational and healthcare institutions. In a response while briefing journalists on the military operations in Abuja on Thursday, the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Kangie, said the Defense Headquarters does not recognize the claims as official or verified. While acknowledging Nigeria's diplomatic and military relationship with several countries, Kangie cautioned against accepting unverified foreign narratives, especially those that may undermine national integrity or incite suspicion. To politics now, the media advisor to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Paul Ibe, has said the resignation letter of his principal from the People's Democratic Party, PDP, was not intended for public release but was deliberately leaked by political opponents. Speaking during a televised interview, Ibe disclosed that the letter dated July 14, 2025, was shared by individuals within the PDP and their allies in the ruling All Progressive Congress to undermine Atiku's political standing. He added that the leak, which came just a day after the funeral of former President Muhammadu Buhari, was deliberately timed to stir controversy and divert national attention. The Minister of Aviation and Aerospace Development, Festus Keyamo, had criticized Atiku for making the resignation letter public during the national mourning period for former President Muhammadu Buhari. Reacting to Keyamo's comments, Ibe took a swipe at the minister, urging him to focus on resolving the critical challenges in Nigeria's aviation sector rather than politicizing a private letter that was never intended for public release. The recently conducted local government election in Lagos State was characterized by low voter turnout, prompting concerns over Nigerian attitudes towards local elections. Experts are now calling for urgent reforms to restore power and relevance to local councils. TV360's Victoria Konde has more details in this next report.
Once regarded as the closest tier of government to the people, Nigeria's local government system has in recent years struggled to maintain its relevance. This year's local government elections in Lagos saw alarmingly low voter turnout in many polling units, a pattern that continues to raise questions about public trust in the process. Some residents in Lagos attribute the low turnout to what they describe as a nonchalant attitude among Nigerians. Others cite concerns over the elections being what they call a one-party affair, with no real opposition or contest. Despite assurances from the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, several polling units saw delayed starts and limited voter presence throughout the day.
The cause of the low turnout, I think, is nonchalant of many people. So that's what I think about it. And this is their civic right. I hope, pleading, they should come out and vote.
The election actually is almost like a one-party thing. There's no opposition. There's no other posters of people from other parties that are participating in this election. So it's just a one-way thing for the APC.
One thing Nigerians don't understand is that if you are going to win the top, it begins from the grassroots. Many of them don't turn out. They would always sit in their house. They don't want to come out for local government, councillorship election, and then you want to win the presidency. Those who are counting on it, the politicians who are taking it serious, they know what they are doing, that this is where we begin from.
For experts, the issues run deeper than voter disinterest. They link it to the decline of Nigeria's federal structure, where local governments have now become largely subservient to state authorities.
What you are seeing what you saw today, that literally people didn't show up, is as a result of the backsliding of the federative system of Nigeria, that the local government system is not truly local government as it were. Local government is supposed to be the third tier of the federation. So there's a federal government, there's a state, and there's a local government. But in this case, the local government is subservient within the state architecture, whereas the federal government does not control the state in a way that a state controls local government. So as it were today, people just assume that it is a ceremonial to gather or to appoint, to run an election, but they know that the will of the people is already one-way dimensional.
When something is not impactful, the tendency for people not to bother themselves about it is very high. And I don't know why we are not seeing it. There are two major reasons. Local government that is supposed to be the closest government to the people are not seeing the impact. The responsibility of local government has been completely taken over by the state government, and they have been reduced to salary-paying agencies.
Reversing the trend of voter apathy requires reforms that restore visibility, funding and autonomy to local governments, along with tangible improvements in grassroots health, education and infrastructure to rebuild public trust in the electoral process.
State Assembly and state governors unnecessarily interferes with the affairs of the local government. They yank off, sack local government chairmen at their whims and caprices, remove them, and reduce them to just paying salaries. Even some of the functions of local government are outdated. Market stores registration, licensing of bicycles and cemeteries, and all of that. So with this, even signages that is supposed to be the responsibility of local government have been taken over by state governments. And then they created joint account where the funds of the local governments are managed by the state government. So all of this, people are no longer feeling the impact.
Experts maintain that restoring trust in local elections will take more than promises. They advocate for financial and administrative autonomy for local governments, better service delivery, and truly competitive elections. Victoria Akonde, TV260 News, Lagos.
The coalition of political parties in Lagos State has praised the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission (LASEC) for conducting a free, fair and credible local council election. Speaking at a press conference on Thursday, the spokesperson of the coalition, Kola Ajayi, expressed the LASEC leadership under retired Justice Bola Okikiola Igile for professionalism and commitment. Ajayi also commended security agencies for their neutrality and professionalism during the election. However, he expressed concerns over the persistent voter apathy in the state, and he urged the state government and other relevant authorities to deepen voter education.
We wish to commend the Lagos State Independent Electoral Commission, LASEC, for its conduct of a free, fair and credible local government election. We particularly recognize the leadership of Honorable Justice Bola Okikiola Igile and our dedicated team. They are commissioners too, for their professionalism and commitment to electoral integrity in the face of notable challenges. We equally appreciate the security agencies for their neutrality and professionalism throughout the electoral process, which contributed significantly to the peaceful conduct of the elections. To all the successful candidates across the state, we extend our heartfelt congratulations. We urge them to embrace the spirit of sportsmanship and be magnanimous in victory, recognizing that true leadership is measured by service and inclusivity. We must collectively take urgent steps to reawaken the public interest in the electoral process and remind our citizens that voting is not just a right, it is a civic responsibility and a powerful tool for change.
To education matters now, no fewer than 9,469 admissions across 20 tertiary institutions nationwide have been flagged as fake by the Joint Admissions and Matriculation Board (JAMB) for the 2024 academic session. According to the board, the admissions were conducted outside the popular Central Admission Processing System, popularly known as CAPS. According to the list obtained from JAMB, Kano State University topped the list with over 2,200 fake admissions, with Ladoke Akintola University of Technology following with 1,215, followed by other institutions. CAPS was introduced to enhance transparency and efficiency and serves as an online platform where prospective university students can monitor and manage their admission status. The Nigerian government has unveiled a comprehensive policy on non-state schools outlining clear guidelines for its infrastructure, teacher quality, curriculum delivery, and stronger accountability measures. The Minister of Education, Tunji Alausa, during the unveiling in Abuja, said the policy was aimed to ensure quality and accountability in the education system by establishing clear guidelines for non-state schools. Alausa said the policy was part of President Bola Tinubu's broader national education sector renewal initiative, which prioritizes education as a cornerstone of national development.
Some of the things we're doing now as a government is that we are engaged, we have ongoing discussion today with members of the private non-state school association on how we can actually utilize your underutilized capacity in your schools for us to reduce the burden of our out-of-school children. We already set up a committee that is working on that. The government is going to work to providing direct reimbursement to private schools.
And to some extent, that burden share, which is coming from fees that are raised by the community, by parental contributions, are to some extent subsidising what otherwise would fall to government. So the UK has worked strongly in countries like Nigeria and Pakistan to try to see what sort of progressive both policies but also actions can be taken. For example, to try to partner between non-state schools, government, to really spread the affordability of and access to quality education.
A recent survey on teacher professionalization status in private schools conducted by the TLCN in 18 states of the Federation across the 6 geopolitical zones and the FCT indicated that over 85% of persons teaching in the private schools were either not registered with the TLCN or were unregistrable as professionals. This result is likely to be the same when extrapolated to the remaining states. However, there's good news. We're happy to note that the non-state schools policy clearly addressed this situation on item 2.33, page 15 of the policy document.
Coalition of young activists from the oil-rich Niger Delta has issued a clarion call for justice and transparency, demanding an urgent investigation into alleged large-scale corruption in the Presidential Amnesty Program under its current coordinator, Dennis Otuaro. Operating under the banner of Niger Delta Concerned Youth for Change, the group accused Otuaro of turning the amnesty program into a private business empire, claiming funds meant for the rehabilitation and empowerment of ex-agitators are being funneled into fraudulent contracts and favoritism. Speaking at a press briefing in Abuja, the group spokesperson, Lion Ogori, urged the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission to investigate all financial dealings, contract approvals, and training initiatives sanctioned under Otuaro's leadership.
Today, we speak out boldly and without fear against the growing rot and corruption in the Presidential Amnesty Program under the current leadership of Mr. Dennis Otuaro, the special advisor to the president on Niger Delta and coordinator of the amnesty program. It is no longer news that the group had previously petitioned the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission over shocking allegations of massive corruption, reckless mismanagement of funds, and the brazen award of contract to cronies and undeserving companies that add no real value to the lives of ex-agitators and the people of Niger Delta. Instead of bringing real empowerment, training, and sustainable development to our youths, what we see under Mr. Otuaro's watch is a deliberate capture of the amnesty program by a few individuals who treat it as their private business empire. This is an insult not only to the spirit of the amnesty program, but also to the millions of Niger Delta whose lives it was meant to transform. We, the concerned Niger Delta Youth for Change, are calling on the EFCC to act swiftly and without fear or favor. We demand a comprehensive investigation into all financial transactions, contract awards, and projects approved by Mr. Dennis Otuaro since he assumed office. Let every naira be accounted for. Yes. Yes. Let every naira be accounted for. Let every fraudulent contract be exposed. Let every fraudulent contract be exposed. We also call on the presidency under President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to urgently intervene in this matter.
We should expect that appropriate actions will be taken.
We'll go on a short break here, but still to come on news now. France completes military withdrawal from Senegal, ending 65-year presence. Details of the story after this break. Welcome back. Here's a recap of our top stories. The Defense Headquarters has disclosed that Nigeria remains an independent nation capable of making its own decisions, particularly on security and counter-terrorism matters. Now, this follows recent comments by the Turkish government alleging that members of a group it designates as the Fethullah terrorist organization are operating in Nigeria under the guise of educational and healthcare institutions. We also informed you that the media advisor to former Vice President Atiku Abubakar, Paul Ibe, has said the resignation letter of his principal from the People's Democratic Party (PDP) was not intended for public release but was deliberately leaked by political opponents. Now, in case you missed any of our news bulletin or for more updates, you can catch us on Limex World TV and AVO TV or log on to our website on www.tv360nigeria.com. You can also follow us on our social media platforms on X, Instagram, and YouTube at TV360 Nigeria, or download our mobile app on Google Play Store, Huawei App Gallery, and Apple Store. On Facebook, we are TV360 Online. It's now time for business news, and Victoria Akonde is on standby. What's the latest, Victoria?
Thank you very much, Okwayemi. Welcome to Business News. Now, the Manufacturers Association of Nigeria (MAN) has emphasized the urgent need for Nigerian manufacturers to adopt innovative technology solutions that can transform production processes and enhance the quality of locally made goods. Speaking in Lagos ahead of the 2025 Nigeria Manufacturing and Equipment Expo (NME) and the Nigerian Raw Materials Expo, MAN President Francis Menshoye highlighted the role of cutting-edge technology in driving sustainable industrial growth. Addressing the theme, accelerating sustainable manufacturing through cutting-edge technology solutions, Meshere stressed that embracing innovation is now essential for competitiveness, resilience, and long-term value creation across the sector.
This event serves as a pivotal platform for embracing homegrown technology to scale up locally manufactured goods, support sustainable development, and discourage overdependence on foreign goods, foreign products. We must also remain committed to utilizing locally sourced raw materials and leveraging essential support services, such as locally sourced funding and logistics, to drive our manufacturing endeavors and propel us into the much-awaited, prosperous, and sustainable future for Nigerians. Inconsistent with our tradition, the NME will hold concurrently a Nigeria Raw Materials Expo, powered by the Raw Materials Research and Development Council, featuring manufacturing equipments, raw materials, and panel discussions and latest research findings delivered by carefully selected experts.
It tells us that no raw materials will be exported out of this country without at least 30% value addition being added to it. Then we have the hosting of the Africa Raw Materials Summit. This happened in the month of June. African countries gathered together in Abuja to deliberate on way forward concerning the use of our local raw materials towards achieving the same goal. We want our raw materials to be utilized here in this country without taking them raw out of Africa.
Still on business, Nigeria's oil and gas sector is experiencing significant shifts as the nation adapts to global energy transitions and domestic economic reforms under the Tinubu-led administration. Managing Director of Oando Energy Resources Nigeria Limited, Ayino J. Rune, highlights the evolution of the sector at the 13th Annual Business Day CEO Forum. Speaking during a high-level panel session, Rune revealed that for over 2 decades, Nigeria relied heavily on oil revenues, which created wealth, but also led to neglect of critical infrastructure and sectorial development.
This operating environment was not one they would tolerate, they could justify, or will pass any investment metric in their global portfolio. So they decided they will focus on the onshore and leave offshore and leave the onshore. And there was the blessing. They say local problems typically have local solutions. And these are the local solutions here. We were able to acquire these assets, and as you've listed, whether it's Seplat, whether it's ourselves, Oando, Renaissance, with the singular aim of turning around this story. We were also fortunate to have a president that is bold. If we start with the removal of subsidy to where we are today with the passing of the executive orders, he's made certain declarations that have changed the ecosystem for good. And we've seen an NNPC now that has been brought to the future, or at least its present day, with the right people in the right places. We have the leadership of Bayo Julari, who is a seasoned professional, and an exco of truly talented people that understand what business efficiency and productivity is about. And we're feeling those effects. Bitte spoke about them, and the other panel spoke about them. I said this at the last panel I was in. My concern is if we don't get it right now, I worry that we may never get it right.
Right now, we'll go on a short break and be back with stock market updates. Welcome back. Nigeria's stock market furthered its northward movement on Thursday following the decline in inflation rate to 22.22%. The NGX All-Share Index increased by 1.02% to close at 130,283 points, while the market capitalization also recorded an increase to 82.4 trillion naira. Now, in total, 129 NGX-listed equities participated in trading, ending with 30 gainers and 46 losers. BUA Cement leads chart with 10% share price appreciation, closing at 112 naira 20 kobo per share, and was followed closely by Dangote Cement. Now, at the end of today's trading session on the NGX, over 1 billion shares were exchanged in 37,418 deals, corresponding to a market value exceeding 42 billion naira. Now, despite the heightened tensions, global financial markets have relatively steadied on Thursday, and so did our select stocks. The US Dow Jones, the UK FTSE, and Japan's Nikkei all maintained the bullish run, as you can see on the chart. On the forex market in Nigeria, the naira is currently trading at 1,525 naira to the US dollar on the black market, and at 2,130 naira to the British pound, and 1,750 naira to the euro, all on the black market. That's it on both business and stock market updates. Back to you, Ope, for the rest of the news.
Thank you very much, Victoria. Now, on the flooring scene, in a historic shift marking the end of a 65-year military presence, France has formally handed over its last remaining bases in Senegal, effectively ending its permanent military footprint in West and Central Africa. The withdrawal, which concluded in a symbolic handover ceremony in Dakar, reflects a broader trend of African nations asserting greater sovereignty and distancing themselves from lingering colonial-era ties with Paris. The pullout comes amid rising anti-French sentiment in parts of the Sahel and follows early expulsion of French forces from Mali, Burkina Faso, and Niger Republic, where military juntas have increasingly aligned with Russia and non-Western powers. Still on the foreign scene, the United States Senate has passed a bill that seeks to cut $9 billion from funds previously approved for spending by Congress, including costs to public broadcasting and foreign aid. The 51-48 vote happened just before dawn on Thursday, following an hours-long overnight vote-a-rama as a Republican-led Senate negotiated amendment. The legislation, known as a recession package, is part of broader effort by Republicans and President Donald Trump to curb federal expenditures and roll back on spent funds allocated in earlier budgets. And finally, on sports, veteran Nigerian football tactician and former interim head coach of the Super Eagles, Monday Sinclair, has passed away at the age of 88. His death was confirmed by former Super Eagles goalkeeper Peter Said-Ida, who played under Sinclair at Sharks FC and described him as a mentor and guiding influence in his early football career. Sinclair, who played for the Green Eagles, now Super Eagles, in the 1960s, was renowned for his exceptional ability to identify and nurture talent. He left an indelible mark on Nigerian football, particularly at the grassroots level, where his contribution to youth development earned him widespread respect. Still on sports, French authorities have launched an investigation into a series of payments made by Kylian Mbappe to members of the Republican Security Corps, raising questions over the nature of the transactions and Real Madrid's forward relationship with state security officials. According to a report by investigative outlets, the probe focuses on 5 CRS officers who collectively received 180,300 euros from the Real Madrid forward personal account in June 2023. The CRS officers in question were reportedly assigned to the French national team during the period, providing security during international fixtures. And that's up our news bulletin on News Now at this time. Many thanks for joining us. I'm Okbayemi Uwosheni. See you next time.